Hi, this is Ed McGuire. I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Okay, we're going to start with a roll call. If you could, when you hear your name, please announce that you're on the call. Travis Anderson.
He's muted. There he goes.
Yes,
Travis, you're on the line.
I am.
Dennis Cedarberg.
Yes.
Dale Daffern.
Yes.
Steve Ford.
Yes.
Mike Jansen. Mike Jansen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Keegan Luttrell.
Yes, I'm here.
Ed McGuire, we know is on. John Salvi. And is Joe Leedy on the call as his alternate?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So we do have all members present in a quorum. We can begin the meeting. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for calling in and accommodating us this morning on through this WebEx. I know it's kind of difficult to run these meetings, but we're kind of making do with what we have to do to get through this time. I'm going to start by reading a few notes. First, on March 22nd, the governor issued Emergency Directive 6, which suspended the requirements contained in NRS that a physical location be provided for public meetings. That emergency directive was extended by Emergency Directive 10 through April 30th. So we did not provide a physical location for this meeting, and we are doing it virtually. You can stream this, watch a live stream of this meeting at www.ccrfcd.org/stream.htm. Public comments have been requested through an email process. You can email your public comments into publiccomment@regionalflood.org. If any public comments come in during the meeting, we will read those at the end of the meeting and make them a part of the permanent record. So item number 1 is comments by the general public. Ms. Hughes, did we get any public comments? So no public comments were received. Item number 2 is action to approve the agenda with the deletion of any items. The agenda is in order for approval. Is there any discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Ed McGuire, motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying nay. That motion is approved unanimously. Item number 3 is action to approve the minutes of the February 27, 2020 meeting. The minutes are in order for approval. Any comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Travis Anderson, I move to approve item number 3.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Any opposed say nay. And that motion is approved unanimously. Part 2 of the agenda is administration. Item 4 is action to accept the financial reports. The report is in your backup. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. If there are none, staff would recommend you accept the financial report. Any discussion? Entertain a motion.
Steve Ford, City, Las Vegas, move to approve.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Ford for approval. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. That motion is approved unanimously. Item number 5 is action to adopt the amendments to the 10-year construction program. These are amendments for fiscal impacts that occur later in the agenda. Staff recommends approval. Any discussion? Entertain a motion.
Keegan Luttrell, I make a motion to approve item number 5.
Thank you. There's a motion for approval by Mr. Luttrell, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. And that motion is approved unanimously. Item number 6 is discussion and possible action to approve the prioritization of projects tenure construction program and fiscal year 2021 project list. This is basically just a reminder for everyone to get your tenure construction programs into us. We did receive all of the draft programs from each of the entities. We're going through those now and compiling those into one document. If we have any questions or concerns, we'll be contacting each of you individually to discuss those. In the meantime, once we get it ready to go, we'll be going to the June board, MATAC and June board, to approve the tenure construction program. So there's no action required on this unless there's any questions or concerns that you want addressed. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7. This is action to accept a presentation and approve and authorize the general manager to sign an interlocal agreement between the Southern Nevada Water Authority and the district to fund the development of a site-specific criteria for selenium for the Las Vegas Wash. As you know, we've been working on a selenium standard for the Las Vegas Wash, and we've come to terms with the Southern Nevada Water Authority to have the LOVWAC members pay for that work. We did prepare a short presentation that John Tennant is going to provide just to give you a little history on this item and where we were, where we're at, and where we're going. So if I'll turn it over to John to start his presentation. John, you can take yourself off mute and begin when ready.
Okay, this is John Tennant. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So John Tennant with the Environmental Mitigation Manager for the Regional Flood Control District. Just want to give an update on the water quality criteria for selenium. Next slide. So just as background, there are high levels of naturally occurring selenium in the Las Vegas Valley. It's throughout the valley, and it dissolves in the groundwater. There's very little dilution in the tributaries, so the shallow groundwater moves through the soils, picks up the selenium, and then discharges it into the tributaries. So we have very high levels of selenium in the tributaries that then gets discharged into the Las Vegas Wash and is diluted and ultimately ends up in Lake Mead. So there's high selenium in the tributaries, much higher than the existing or even the proposed criteria, which is why the tributaries are listed for selenium on the state's 303D list. Next slide. The reason why there's concern about high levels of selenium in the water is that they can cause biological deformities in fish and in birds. The picture is just an example of the kinds of deformities that can occur, but there's no evidence that fish are being impacted in the Las Vegas Wash. And indeed, there have been a number of fish studies that have been done over the last 20 years in the Wash, and there's been no evidence of any deformities in those fish that have been identified. Next slide. So back in May of 2019, the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection provided notice of intent to revise water quality standards for the Las Vegas Wash, including a new proposal for a statewide selenium criteria based on EPA guidance. And so these were new reduced standards that were proposed to apply to the entire state for selenium. Next slide. The stormwater permittees provided comments and met with NDEP throughout the fall of 2019. And based on those meetings and based on the feedback from those permittees, NDEP proposed in December a revised selenium standard that would exempt the Las Vegas Wash from the new standard for 3 years, and agreed to work with the local stakeholders to develop site-specific criteria for selenium. NDEP has also agreed to revisit the issue related to the tributaries with selenium as well. And so what this agreement does is it provides funding for that work to be done. Next slide. Now, developing site-specific criteria for Selenium is highly technical and requires the assistance of experts in the fields of water quality and ecotoxicology. In December and January, the district solicited written proposals from 5 firms with experience in water quality and ecotoxicology, and a review team composed of local agencies reviewed the proposals and completed oral interviews. So those were done in December and January, and we selected one firm. Next slide. District is contracted with Arcadis Inc. to complete the work necessary to develop the site-specific criteria. Funding for that work will come from this agreement, which is for up to $100,000, and then also we're going to be receiving grant funding from NDEP in the amount of $50,000. We anticipate that the project will take at least a year to complete, possibly more, depending on how negotiations with NDEP go. Next slide. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions for John? So that is good news that we did get a $50,000 grant from the NDEP. We'll be spending that money first, and then as necessary, use the $100,000 that we're receiving through this agreement from SNWA. So that is pretty successful. If there are no questions, staff would recommend you accept the presentation and approve the general manager to sign the agreement. Any discussion?
This is Dennis Cedarberg. Move to follow staff recommendation.
Okay, got a motion for approval from Dennis Cedarberg. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Signify by saying nay. Motion is approved unanimously. Item 8 is action to approve and authorize the chair to sign a memorandum of agreement between the National Weather Service and the Regional Flood Control District for retrieval of data necessary and essential for the accurate and timely issuances of flash flood and severe thunderstorm warnings for the citizens of Clark County. Years ago, we entered into an agreement with the National Weather Service to allow us to install a base station for our flood threat recognition system in their office. This acts as a backup to our system that we have here in this building, our Regional Flood Control District building. In case something happens to this building, we need a backup off-site. And so they agreed to accept it and maintain it. They also utilize the data that obviously that we receive through the flood threat recognition system for their own work. So it's a kind of a win-win for both. That agreement has expired, so this is just an action to extend that agreement. Staff recommends approval. Any discussion? Entertain a motion.
This is Dennis Cedarberg. Move to follow staff recommendation.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Dennis Cedarberg for approval. All those in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Say nay. Thank you, and that motion is approved unanimously. Part 3 of the agenda is discussion and construction. Item 9 is Duck Creek Jones Boulevard Storm Drain, Clark County. Item A is action to accept the project presentation, and we have Ryan Belsick on the line from Clark County to present. So Ryan, you can unmute your phone when ready and begin your presentation.
Great, thank you, Steve. Good morning, everyone. This is Ryan Belsick. I'm with Clark County Public Works. I am the project manager for the Duck Creek Jones Boulevard Storm Drain project, and I will be making the project presentation this morning. Next slide, please. The project's located in the southwest portion of the Las Vegas Valley. It's located south of Blue Diamond, near the intersection of Jones Boulevard and Cactus Avenue. Next slide. The project will connect to an existing MPU facility just north of Ohio Avenue and will extend south approximately 3,600 feet to Conn Avenue and includes 14 by 6, 10 by 4, and 10 by 3 reinforced concrete box storm drain. The tributary area to the facility is approximately 1 square mile, and the 100-year design flow is 940 CFS. The MPU facility IDs include DCJB 0, 20, and 43 as shown on this slide. Next slide, please. This slide shows a typical RCV section for the project. The project will include precast and cast-in-place RCV. Next slide. The total project cost is approximately $11.6 million. RFCD's portion is $3.65 million. RTC will be contributing $7.8 million. And there's a small portion that will be developer funded of approximately $128,000. Next slide. The design documents are 90% complete. All right-of-way has been obtained for the project, and all necessary local, state, and federal permits, including environmental, have been satisfied. Next slide. The construction schedule includes an award of bid date of September of this year, with a construction start date anticipated of December 2020. The construction duration is anticipated to be 9 months with a completion date of August 2021. Next slide. And with that, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Ryan? If there are no questions, staff would recommend you accept the project presentation. Entertain a motion.
Dennis Cedarberg, move to accept presentation.
Okay, the motion from Dennis Cedarberg for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. That motion is approved unanimously. Item 9B is action to approve the interlocal contract for construction. This is an interlocal contract in the amount of $3,650,769 for construction management, construction, and entity labor costs. There are sufficient funds for this project. Staff recommends approval.
Move to
Any
follow
discussion? Oh, go ahead, Dennis.
Dennis Cedarberg, move to follow staff recommendation.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And that motion is approved unanimously. Item number 10 is Flamingo, Boulder Highway North, Charleston, Boulevard, Charleston, Boulder Highway to Maryland Parkway, and Maryland Parkway System, City of Las Vegas. Item A is action to accept the project presentation. I want to note for the record that there is an ID mile missing from the contract, and so I want to add ID mile FLBN 0280 to the contract, and that will be added into the final contract sent to the board for approval. Item A is action to accept the project presentation. Matt Baird is going to be presenting this project. So Matt, when you're ready, you can unmute and begin your presentation.
Thanks, Steve. This is Matt Baird with Atkins. I'm here on behalf of the City of Las Vegas to make the presentation for this project. I'll be referring to the project as the Charleston, Maryland storm drain instead of what that very long title at the top of the page. So with that, let's get started. Next slide, please. So this shows the general location of the project. The red lines are the proposed storm drain improvements, and the project is located just east of downtown Las Vegas. Next slide, please. So this is a zoomed in overview of the project area. On the right side, the blue line is the Boulder Highway storm drain, which is currently under construction and anticipated to be complete later this year. The Charleston, Maryland storm drain will tie into the upstream end of the Boulder Highway storm drain there in Boulder Highway or Fremont Street. It continues up to Charleston Boulevard, turns west all the way down to Maryland Parkway. And then there is also a major collection system that runs north in 13th Street from Charleston and then cuts over to Maryland Parkway and up to Stewart. So the red lines are the proposed trunk line regional facilities included in the project, and the yellow lines are the major collection lateral storm drains that are also included in the project. Next slide, please. So this is the same slide as the last one, except that it shows the sizes of the trunk line regional facilities. The flow at the downstream end in Boulder Highway is approximately 2,000 CFS, and will start as an 18-foot by 8-foot reinforced concrete box, obviously continuing up Charleston, and ends as a 10-foot by 6-foot reinforced concrete box. And then the system in Maryland Parkway and 13th Street starts as a 12 by 6 RCB and ends as a 48-inch pipe up at Stewart Avenue. Next slide, please. So this is a typical section of Charleston Boulevard looking east. You can see there in the middle of the bottom of the typical section, the proposed reinforced concrete box and the numerous existing utilities within Charleston Boulevard, encompassing pretty much the full width of the right-of-way. The box is deep and it's under all of those existing utilities. This section is pretty typical of the full length of the project in Charleston from Maryland to Boulder Highway, and is a pretty congested corridor. Next slide, please. So this is the total project cost, estimated at a little over 68 million. It's worth noting that the Water District is participating in the construction funding. They are including a number of waterline betterment improvements in the project. And then also the RTC is contributing a significant amount of funding for a portion of the project, which is mostly the surface improvements, the roadway and sidewalk improvements. And then, of course, the Flood Control District is contributing almost $38 million towards the construction. Next slide, please. All the design documents are 90% complete. All right-of-way permits have been obtained, and all necessary local, state, and federal permits, including environmental, have also been obtained. Next slide. We anticipate the award of bid at the end of 2020, with construction starting in early 2021, and the estimated construction duration at 2 years. And with that, I'll answer any questions anyone has.
Okay, thanks. Matt, any questions from the members?
This is Dennis Cedarberg. I have a question on the funding for the laterals, the yellow lines. What agency is funding those?
The Flood Control District is funding those, Dennis.
They're non-regional?
They are part of the regional system, yes. They are collection facilities that I believe are all within a quarter mile of the trunk line regional facility.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, staff would recommend you accept the project presentation. I'll entertain a motion.
Steve Ford, move to accept the presentation.
Okay, we have a motion for approval from Steve Ford. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion is approved unanimously. Item 10B is action to approve the interlocal contract for construction. This is an interlocal contract at the total value of $41,028,829 for construction management, construction, and entity construction labor costs. There are sufficient funds for this project. Staff recommends approval. Any discussion? Entertain a motion.
Steve Ford, move to approve.
There's a motion on the floor for approval from Steve Ford. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. And with that, motion is approved unanimously. Section 4 is other items for information only. Item 11 is receive a report on previous items submitted that were heard and approved by the Board of Directors on April 9, 2020. We just wanted to let the TAC members know that because we canceled the March meeting as a result of the pandemic, those items did move forward to the Board of Directors at their April 9th meeting, and they were approved. most of the items were pretty normal, with the exception of probably item 11B, which was the supplemental interlocal contract for maintenance for the city of Henderson. That was $1.6 million increase to the maintenance interlocal to cover some bid projects that Henderson's putting out to repair some facilities in Henderson. And then items G and H were funding contracts for Duck Creek Haven storm drain, street storm drain, which were approved. So I don't know if there's any questions on any of the items, but this is just information only. There's no requirement to vote on this. Any discussion or questions? Okay, moving on to item 12 is comments by the general public. Ms. Hughes, any comments? Okay, no comments were received by the general public. And so with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. I want to remind the members to stay on this call, stay on, don't leave the meeting, and you'll be starting up with the EAC meeting for RTC here in a few minutes after we switch out personnel. So thank you everyone for accommodating us on this call, and we'll turn over to EAC. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.